my name is Laura and I'm a YouTuber that talks about dealing with type 1 diabetes when you're a teenager. I'm sorry I haven't filmed in so long, but I've been in Australia, but that's another subject for discussion. I want to continue my Feeling Like an Outsider series today. This episode is called Wanting to be Accepted, or Wanting to Feel Accepted. Now, generally feeling accepted by a group of people when you're a teenager is very difficult. Teenagers stress the most about wanting to be a part of a group and wanting to find that stable group of friends or wanting to be accepted by all their peers. My personal experience with accepting my disease was quite a difficult one for me, because I was diagnosed when I was 14, which is in the middle of senior school basically. And I was still learning about my disease. I was still, learning what it was about, learning what my diabetes was about. And honestly, I didn't really want to accept my disease. I didn't want to learn about it. I didn't feel enthusiastic to learn about it at all, because I didn't want to be known as different. I didn't want to sit in the lunch hall and do my injections and have people look over and whisper and be like, oh, what's she doing, I didn't want that at all. I didn't want to be labelled as that diabetic girl or that girl that injects herself at lunchtime. I really, really didn't want to be different. I wanted to just feel accepted. I wanted to just fit in. But I did overcome these fears, and I've actually come up with a 3-step process, which is basically what I use to get through my fears, my insecurities, and how I came to accept myself and my diabetes. So this is my 3-step process in learning to feel accepted by your peers. The first step is learning to accept yourself. Not necessarily your diabetes, but learning to be comfortable with yourself. That is the most important and the most difficult step, I think. It's a very, very difficult thing to accept who you are when you're a teenager, especially when you're a teenager. It is difficult to accept who you are. I had many insecurities about myself, insecurities about my body, about my face, my hair, my personality. I was always very shy. I was, confident in my group of friends, but in meeting new people, I was very shy. And I found that with my insecurities, I used to act out aggressively. I used to kind of be labelled as the mean one because I wasn't very nice to people. I learnt to accept myself by just taking time to myself and being self-reflective, thinking what I wanted to be, who I wanted to be as a person, and that really, really helped me to accept myself. I knew that I didn't want to be this aggressive, mean person anymore, and the only reason I was like that is because I thought it was cool. And I thought, if I'm angry or if I'm the aggressive one, at least people would notice me. That was why I was so mean to people. And I found that I was unhappy when I was like that. I learnt to accept myself by being more confident, by embracing my good qualities, by embracing the fact that I'm quite good at music. People have said that I'm quite funny, that I'm quite smiley, so that's nice. Once I learnt to accept all of my good qualities, it was as if the bad things really didn't matter anymore. The good things outweighed the bad, so what was the point in fretting about them? Once you accept yourself, it is so much easier to accept your disease, because you think, this disease does not change me as a person. I'm a brilliant, unique individual. Why the hell should a few injections and some blood tests change that? And the answer is, they don't. You are still an incredible individual, and you have nothing to worry about. Your injections are a necessity for you staying alive, for you blooming and being a wonderful person. I think the problem is because, well, definitely for me, I was one of only 2 people in my school that had diabetes. So if you had it, you were different. It was a very weird thing to people. People didn't understand it. But if you are confident in yourself and you are completely comfortable with yourself, then your injections, they're really not that big a deal. You just think, oh, okay, whatever, I'll just do my injection, blah, 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 blah. Who gives a crap? No one gives a crap, honestly. People are so accepting of it. People don't care. The ones that gossip and say like, oh, what's she doing? Why is she injecting? It's because they're curious. It's not because they're trying to bitch or be mean. They are just curious. And if anybody ever gave you any beef about it, any shit about it, they would just be the lowest form of human. If you need those injections and those blood tests to stay alive, then people cannot mock you for that. And obviously, when they look at people injecting, they're not going to necessarily know what it's for at first. They might not know that you're diabetic. They might just be like, oh, why is she doing an injection? But people know that it's going to be for some kind of health reason. They're going to know that it's to benefit you and to benefit your health. Okay, the next step in my 3-step rule is talking to people. I started off talking to my friends, obviously, my closer friends about it, and telling them about how I felt uncomfortable injecting in front of people, how I felt that it was difficult to be accepted. And honestly, when you talk to people, hearing different points of view about it and hearing about how other people perceive you is such an interesting thing to hear, and it's such a brilliant way to overcome your fears. I find that in talking to somebody, I learn so much more about myself. I learn so much more about... friggin' postman's here. If you know that you've got a good support system and you've got good friends, then I feel like I can conquer the whole world with a good group of friends. I don't know if that's how you feel, but I feel invincible when I've got a good group of friends that I know have got my back. You feel so much better. And if you just keep really introverted and you don't like to tell anybody about it, then you just have this kind of storm build up inside you. You have this kind of awful feeling just get worse and worse and worse until you just explode. It's better to just talk about it. Have somebody that you can just talk to. It's so much easier, it's so much better for you. Not just about talking about diabetes, in general actually, talking to somebody about something is just, it's the best kind of therapy. And my 3rd step for learning to feel accepted by others is by practicing your diabetes in front of people. And I don't mean practicing as in like, you know, when you practice a sport or you practice a piece of music. I mean practice as in perform, as in actively do something. I mean actively inject yourself in front of people, actively do your blood tests in front of people. I found throughout my whole senior school, I didn't do my injections in front of people. I went to the toilet and I never ever did my blood tests or injections in front of people because I was too scared, I was too frightened about what people would think. The turning point for me was when I got to college, because it was a new place, new people. I thought, I'm going to start fresh and I'm just going to be my own person and I'm just going to do it. And it started off quite small. I would first of all start doing my blood tests and injections in the lunch hall, so there were people around me, but I'd only really be doing it in front of my friends, but people around me would still see that I was doing it. And I noticed a couple of people staring, but they weren't, you know, gossiping or anything, and generally people didn't really take any notice. And then eventually, once I built up my confidence doing that, I started doing my blood tests and injections in front of anybody, so people I just met I started doing my injections in front of, and astonishingly people were just so friendly about it and they were really curious. It was a really, really good conversation starter for meeting new people, because they saw me doing it and they're like, oh, what's that? And I'd explain, say, oh, I'm diabetic. And they say, oh, that's so cool. Look, the most common question I get is, does it hurt? And if you're a fellow diabetic, you will understand this question. So many people ask this question. Comment down below if people have asked you this question, because I know so many people do. But it feels good. It's nice to have a conversation with people about it, because it means they're curious, and it doesn't mean that they're judging you, it doesn't mean that they're not mean about it. They're curious, and it's brilliant having people curious about it, because then more people understand, and once people understand, they embrace it more, and you make really good friends, you know? It's great. That was my 3-step process and how I learned to feel accepted by other people with my diabetes. If there are any more questions you have on this topic or any other videos that you want me to do, please comment down below. And also I have a blog which is called Diabeteen18 because I'm 18 and I'm diabetic. So creative. Yes, if you want to read my blog, I will also put it in the description box below. So if you prefer to read things than watch videos, then I post on that every week, or I will be posting on it every week now. I have had a bit of a pause in my videoing and blogging because I was away in Australia, but I promise now this is going to be a weekly thing. I'm going to upload every week and I'm going to do a blog post every week, so please check out my blog, check out my channel, subscribe if you like, and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, thank you very much, and I will see you next week.